I knew where I was and what I was doing. I just thought what a sucker I was. I even knew she wouldn't come the first night. But I sat there, grinding it out.
Out of the Past from 1947 was an amazing crime noir film featuring Robert Mitchum at his coolest, Kirk Douglas as a scheming crime boss, and Jane Greer as a lovely and mysterious femme fatale. It's a beautifully made film with wonderful music. Thank you to C.B. Clark for this recommendation. Let me summarize the movie, and then I'll share some more thoughts about the film. The opening credits feature some soaring orchestrations and mountain scenery. I mean, I note that this stirring musical score was by composer Roy Webb, who I've mentioned in earlier reviews for his amazing film music, like Blood on the Moon from 1948. And it is very notable in this film. And the film gets started with the character Joe Stefanos, played by actor Paul Valentine, who shows up in this small town, and he's visiting a local gas station, looking for someone. And right off, this film is rich with that gorgeous 1940s era local footage. And we see like the buildings of this small town, and it all looks just so good. Can you tell right off the bat, I really like this film? Well, Joe is looking for someone, but the only one at the station there is this deaf-mute man. He's referred in the film only as the Kid. He's played by actor Dickie Moore. Well, Joe continues looking around town, and he stops at a diner. And meanwhile, we cut to a different scene. And just appreciate the composition and the music here. It's great stuff. Robert Mitchum is there as the character Jeff Bailey, and he's with his girlfriend, Ann Miller, played by lovely actress Virginia Houston. He's doing some fishing. It's very peaceful. And she just wants to know more about his background, as do we, the audience. And as you can suspect, he's got a mysterious background, and like guys in crime films like this, he just wants to get away from his past and start fresh. It's a lot like Gene Nelson in that film, Crime Wave, another one that I reviewed a while ago. These type of characters, they want to get away from the past, but they never seem to be able to. And sure enough, this tranquil time is soon interrupted as the Kid shows up, and he signals to him that he needs to come back because someone wants to meet him. And once he goes back, there's Joe waiting at his shop. And after some chilly small talk, we find out that there is this character named Whit who wants Jeff to come back to meet with him again in Lake Tahoe to discuss some business. So Jeff goes, and he picks up Ann, and while they're driving together, he starts to reveal details of his past, his real name, his history, and so on. And she remains sweet and trusting as she listens, not sure about this mysterious character. He continues to talk as we head into a flashback of events from 3 years ago, and his narration continues. We meet Whit. He's this confident, wealthy gambler character. He's played by the legendary Kirk Douglas. He's there with that smug grin, and he wanted Jeff back to bring him on for another job. And of course, he can't really refuse. And his job is to go and find Whit's mysterious girlfriend, Kathy Moffat, who supposedly shot him and then disappeared with $40,000 of his money. So Jeff does a little bit of detective work to try to find out where she is. And to me, it was really interesting. There's this brief scene that is set at, it's like a black nightclub. It's really cool. It's a different world in 1947. I like that scene, and he gets a lead while he's there to where he can find this Kathy character that she may have left from Mexico. So he heads off to Acapulco and checks in, and he just kind of waits around. He's kind of sitting at a bar, but soon enough, she walks in.
And then I saw her coming out of the sun. And I knew why Whit didn't care about that 40 grand.
So Kathy is played here by the gorgeous actress Jane Greer. She steps inside, and Jeff goes to meet with her. And to me, I love how this moment has just a hint of Casablanca to it. Namely, you have a beautiful woman arriving at a mysterious bar in a foreign locale and encountering the hero. And right off the bat, there's some romantic chemistry going on, and she teases him about meeting her again at a different club, and soon enough, he's falling for her, falling for the wrong girl. And out in the moonlight by the ocean one night...
I didn't know you were so little.
I'm taller than Napoleon.
You're prettier, too.
Now, Kathy knows the score, though, and suspects that Jeff is actually there on Whit's order. "When are you taking me back?" she says, Now, she insists she stole no money from him, but instead was just getting away from Whit, that he was a toxic person. Well, so far I think Jeff believes her. And the next day, he's cheerfully packing up to leave, and who should show up unexpectedly but Whit? And of course, there's some tension to his dialogue as, he's asking questions and Jeff is trying to hide things, making it seem like he couldn't find her at all. The suspense here is great. You don't really know if Whit believes him or not, and I just love that uneasiness of the scene as they keep asking questions and Jeff tries to keep hiding it. But Whit eventually, he's going to leave and he tells Jeff, continuous search. Now, Jeff's voiceover narrative continues. He's continuing to tell his story about he and Kathy were then on the run, running around places like San Francisco. They're very happy together and hiding. But unfortunately, he's eventually spotted by the character Fisher, actor Steve Brody, who to me has kind of a Kevin Spacey vibe to him. And he was Jeff's former partner in crime. And he was supposed to have originally gone with him to find Kathy, but Jeff had gone alone. Now, however, he had been promised half of the money for finding her, and since he did find her, now this Fisher character wants to get paid. Now, he and Jeff get into a fight, but ultimately, Kathy shoots Fisher dead. And after the shooting, Kathy leaves, and Jeff, to his great disappointment, finds out that Kathy did indeed take $40,000 from Whit. We cut back to Jeff. He's still driving with Anne. He's still telling his story. And Anne is such a sweetheart here. Even as Jeff has shared all these dark and grisly details with her, she still plans to remain faithful and true. Well, they finally arrive at Whit's place in Lake Tahoe with unknown peril in store for poor Jeff. Sure enough, he comes in and he meets with Whit, who offers him breakfast. And as they begin, who should happen to be there but Kathy, who arrives for breakfast. We don't really know at this point how much Whit knows, but there's plenty of suspicion deliciously built here.
Kathy's back in the fold now. You're back in the fold too, Jeff.
I see what you mean.
Well, Whit has another job for Jeff, and, well, he really can't say no at this point. His job is to retrieve some tax documents that, according to Whit, are being used by a character, Leonard Eels. He's this lawyer in San Francisco, in order to blackmail him. Now, before he leaves, Jeff has a momentary encounter with Kathy alone, but he just sort of sends her away. He's had enough. Jeff gets to San Francisco, and he goes to meet with this character, Meta Carson, who's played by the lovely Rhonda Fleming. I remember seeing her very briefly in the Hitchcock film Spellbound. I think she was this nutty character that Ingrid Bergman's character had to interact with. Anyhow, Jeff meets with her for drinks, some smokes, and some witty banter. Well, she's Eel's secretary. And Whit has arranged all of this, that basically Jeff will head to Eel's apartment and steal some documents. And Mita will get them and then hand it off to Jeff. And, all right, I got to admit, some of the part of this film was a little tricky to follow. But, yeah, bottom line is, Jeff determines that this is all just a big setup, that Whit is just playing this revenge move and plans to have Eels killed and frame Jeff for it. So he doesn't want any part of that. And although Jeff puts it all together and can't prevent Eel's murder, he does manage to do the old switcheroo and tricks Kathy into revealing that she and Mita were all involved in this death together. Now, Kathy reveals that she told Whit about killing Fisher earlier, and he had forced her to sign an affidavit about it. And she tells him that the affidavit is in Eel's apartment in a safe. So, the bottom line is she could potentially be framed for 2 murders. Now, we're not sure if Jeff is still in love with her at this point or just kind of playing along. I couldn't really tell, to be honest. But, they have a romantic exchange of a kiss, and he learns the whereabouts of Eel's documents.
Jeff, you ought to have killed me for what I did a moment ago.
There's time.
So we cut back to Ann Miller's family, and they're looking at the paper, and they read that Jeff is in trouble, and he's the subject of a police manhunt. The local sheriff gets word, and he's ready for his return if it happens. But then again, note some of this beautiful music. So Jeff tells Kathy that he will be mailing these incriminating documents to the IRS unless Whit gives him the affidavit. Now, Kathy at this point tells Joe to go after Jeff. And he finds him. He's hanging out in the country, and Jeff is just doing some fishing, kind of setting up a trap, I think. Joe tries to sneak up on him to shoot him, but the kid is there and stops him by doing this awesome trick with the fishing line, snags him and brings him down to fall to his death into a creek. It's a pretty crazy scene, actually. Finally, Jeff goes back and confronts Whit for the money, but will he get it? What will happen with him? What will happen with Kathy? Can a guy with a dark side like Jeff start again and settle down with a girl like Anne? Well, with only a little bit of time left in the film, you need to see the ending of this film for yourself. It's very exciting stuff and a very neat conclusion to the film. Some closing thoughts. Obviously, you can tell I really love this movie. It's beautifully filmed. It's got plenty of that location footage that I love so much, namely the country scenery and the small towns and scenes from San Francisco. I looked up some of the street views, and I have those links in the description below. Many of the places look much the same 75 years later. Actors are all top-notch in this film. I love so much of that witty, fast-paced banter. And you really can't go wrong with Robert Mitchum in a shady detective film. This was his breakout role, and his cool-as-ice exterior and his sleepy eyes and the fast dialogue, it just makes his character so amazing in this film. And I also really enjoyed hearing his voiceover through much of the film, reminiscent in a way of William Holden's dialogue from the movie Sunset Boulevard. Kirk Douglas as well was amazing. This was one of his earliest roles too. And I loved how there was sort of the balance of his more aggressive look and act with Mitchum's more cool, sleepy attitude. The two balance very well, and I love that power play between the two. From what I've read, what we see in the film was also reflective of how the two would interact behind the camera scenes as well. Really love Jane Greer in this film, especially how, like the classic noir femme fatale, you never really know for sure if her feelings for Jeff are sincere or if she's just playing the poor guy. Her role is wonderfully acted, and even for a mysterious character like this, and for all her trickery, you do feel sorry for her. Maybe she's manipulative, or maybe she's just the one being manipulated. I was reading through Robert Mitchum's bio. It's called Baby, I Don't Care. I love the title of the book. That's actually a line from this film. And there was a funny segment in which Jane Greer describes a scene with their first kiss on the beach. As they're filming it, she notices a brown mark on Mitchum's lip, and she thought it was like smeared brown lip liner. She brings it up to him. Mitchum yells for the makeup man, who brings a mirror. "Oh, honey," he says, "that's just chowin' tobacco." I love it. So Mitchum wiped his mouth and resumed the kissing position. And Jane Greer's comment in the book, "Well, this movie is going to be different." I love it. It's great. Anyhow, Out of the Past was noir at its finest. I really enjoyed this film, and it's definitely one of the best crime films I've ever seen. It was adapted by Daniel Mainwaring under the pseudonym of Jeffrey Holmes from his 1946 novel, Build My Gallows High. It was an RKO production, directed by Jacques Tourneur, who also directed the film Cat People in 1942. I've got that on my list. It's one of those early monster horror films that I've wanted to check out for a while, so one of these days. The film was also remade in 1984 as the film Against All Odds, with Rachel Ward, Jeff Bridges, and James Woods, loosely based on the same characters. Okay, that's Out of the Past from 1947. Excellent crime noir, definitely one worth checking out. Just take a look at me now. That's just an empty space. And you coming back to me is against the odds. That's a chance I've gotta take.
All right, all right. It's a good soft touch. Don't get hot at me.